you everyone for coming to this event. So we organize this so that we can have a better understanding of art and AI, particularly in topics that are not discussed anywhere else. A lot of people discuss tech and the like when it comes to AI art, but also issues, but they don't go deep down. That's why today we have Patrick Cabral talking about his AI journey. So to give you a brief background about Patrick, Patrick started in web development, but he's transitioned to a lot of different types of art, from paper to carving to fashion, and he's even used AI for his fashion designs. So without any ado, let's start with Patrick.
I'm Patrick Cabral, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Brief history, I used to be a web designer because I actually grew up from the province, and we don't really have like mga art courses when I was still in college. So I think yung parang my idea of getting into like art is actually through web design kasi yun lang talaga yung parang tinuturo na art adjacent subject sa province. So I pursued com-sci because I used to do a lot of web design before. But I dropped out from school when I was in third year. And actually I dropped out because I was promised by this company before that I applied for na after 6 months they're gonna bring me to the US. And it didn't happen. So what happened is I moved to Manila because I was offered a web designer job. Because before I used to do web development, which is mostly programming. And yeah, I've been trying to get into arts for a long time, and I thought before web design is the way to go because it's like kind of like design related and art related. For a while now, I've been getting paid as a paper sculptor. So I'm known to make a lot of dragons. And I also work with a lot of different brands. So this is actually my first brand collaboration with Magnum. So before this, I was actually known to do a lot of lettering. And the president of Mullen Low, Lay Reyes, before, is actually really involved with the typography community as well. Actually, when she gave me this project, wala talaga siyang parang hindi naman kailangan ng Magnum tong project na to talaga eh. Parang pinilit niya lang kasi she really wants to collaborate with me. Kasi I posted one artwork, yun, so nag-pitch sila for Magnum. And then after this, I became known as an artist who works with brands. So yun, parang puro mga brand projects yung naging project namin for a while. Nakatawa nga eh kasi I've been getting a lot of parang projects that would wanna brand me as a parang influencer. Pero I really try to stay away from it eh, because I really wanna do art kasi I don't wanna consume my time na doing a lot of digital content. So I also partnered with WWF. Actually, this project was initiated because of the Magnum project kasi I was thinking na, well, they're gonna spend money marketing the Magnum project. So while waiting for it, I decided what field can I branch out to? Kasi they're already spending money. So yun, parang kumuha lang ako ng mga pwedeng ibenta when they started rolling the marketing campaign. And funny enough, mas naging parang successful po nung project na to as compared to the initial project. Got the attention of brands like Starbucks. I started collaborating with a lot of projects with Starbucks. Nakatawa rin kasi with this one, parang lang siya, parang nag-snowball until now I get a lot of offers from Starbucks to do designs for their stores worldwide. We actually have a replica of these 3 pieces sent to the Starbucks headquarters because yung tiger, ginawa siyang parang cover ng parang report ng head ng Asia Pacific, and nakita siya nung parang pinaka-head sa Starbucks, so they commissioned me to create a replica of this sa Seattle headquarters. It was actually also the first brand collaboration or artist collaboration of Starbucks locally. Nakakatuwa rin eh kasi when I started working as a web designer, kasi I only worked 3 years in corporate and then I quit na agad. I think I was only 22 that time. Tapos walang internet na mabilis dati, tapos nakiki-work na ako sa Starbucks before. And then I saw dun sa Starbucks na may mga sinasabi silang artwork and I was like thinking, oh, sana makapag-exhibit din ako dito ng art. So nakakatuwa lang na parang nag-full circle siya na they commissioned me these pieces for Starbucks. Because of my arts practice with paper, this one, nabasa lang ako nung the head of the delegation for the Dubai World Expo saw me at parang article at the Adobo magazine and she decided to have me on as one of the creatives for the Dubai World Expo. Ano nga eh, parang I don't really have art connections. I don't really, I don't know, I don't think people from the art world here in the Philippines really know me eh. So parang with this one, it's super surprising that they actually tapped me to be involved with the project because of my work alone talaga. So parang feeling ko nga napilitan lang yung curator na makipagtrabaho sa akin kasi yung head of the delegation yung kumontak sa akin eh. So, yun, parang this project is really ano rin eh, parang pivotal to my AI project because that actually started my whole digital arts practice because part of this project is to create a projection mapping for the sale. So I decided to create initially created this video as a projection. So the concept of this video is basically I will just put camera around the vicinity and it will automatically turn whatever the camera sees into pattern similar to tinalak or yung mga traditional fabrics. But when I showed this to my advisor, which is Marian Pastor Roses, she actually makes like the books for fabrics. She doesn't really like it eh. I think for her kasi it's a really touchy subject because when you talk about modernizing fabric, well I saw it as an art experiment or design experiment. But with her, when she thinks of like fabrics, she thinks of the people that she knows. So it's more, ano talaga, parang very touchy subject for her and even emotional. Kasi I think technology when being used to art, parang I think she feels like it's going to affect the livelihood of the people that she personally knows. Kaya, well, she rejected the subject. But with me, the problem is, if I'm doing something, it doesn't leave my brain. So it's there, it's percolating, and it has to be made. So after this project, hindi siya natapos eh. It's an unfinished project that is still percolating in my head. And the thing about with this project, when I actually posted that, because I created this in Spark AR, and when I actually successfully built that system, because this is a really complicated system, because this video runs on phone. So parang it's super impossible to create something like that na automatically it turns into a fabric, especially when it's running on mobile device. And it's running parang in real time, na automatically convert niya. It's like super impossible before when I built this system. And when I posted it in Spark AR community, it actually helped me to create basically like a reputation na, oh, I'm the person who can actually create super complex application of augmented reality. So, pero think about it, with this project, I get offers with a lot of companies to do, projects for them. But with this talaga, it's mostly personal experiment for me. So Teksugi, this is some of my digital project experiment. The problem with me kasi, because, well, I've been working for, I think, 10 years now as an independent professional. So the reality of it talaga is you have to maintain like an art side and a business side, something that makes money. And what I say about me talaga is my bottleneck is I can't get brands that has, parang more technology or parang modern design offerings. Mostly I get collaborations to create traditional paper cutting artwork, but I can't get, like high-end or high-end modern brands like, for example, Nike or Adidas. So with this one, I tried to move into something more modern, design. So last year, I actually started like also trying to learn sculpting in my iPad. And nakakatawa because I do like a bunch of this parang yung details like panel details. And I remember I created those kind of pattern in computer, in code, but in 2D. So I thought like, how hard can it be to create this in 3D? Like automatically create those things. So, and then I spent around 8 months trying to learn how to do it in Houdini. This is like 8 months of every day, really just watching YouTube videos, reading a lot of mathematical papers. And the funny thing about it because I don't really like math when I'm in school, but this one talaga, I really have to face my fears, really have to learn math, really understand everything because you can't do this kind of application if you don't know math fully because it involves like a lot of math talaga. So what it does is you just feed it with whatever 3D models that you have, and it will automatically create sci-fi details. So for example, you're planning to create a game, mostly this kind of details talaga may namano-mano siya eh. And then it takes like weeks for like for example to create a model, just one model. But with my system, you just feed it with whatever 3D models, automatically gagawin niya na. So if I'm planning to create like a futuristic game, I can create a game in a span of like months lang as compared to years, which a lot of people are doing. So basically solving this kind of project is basically I was able to unlock the secret of like building 3D not by hand but with code. So and learning how to do this actually basically solves all the basically taught me how to do everything in 3D because this is like the hardest puzzle ever. So I also made like these systems. So with this one talaga is I'm trying to like interpret, like for example the tattoo in Buscalan. How would I interpret those kind of patterns in code? And this is how like basically after that project, most of the initiative that I'm doing is actually trying to convert organic patterns into mathematical data. I also build these systems. Basically just feed the system with whatever data models and then automatically it generates it. A lot of mga abstract system. So yeah, those things everything is automated. The difference between this and AI is this is mostly my parang creative instincts that I basically encoded in a program. And with this one naman, I tried to experiment on like generative creation of fabrics. So this is inspired actually by my art na if my artwork is like a 3D moving fabric, how does it will look like. So I want to preserve the ethereal quality of my work, so parang I experimented with this fabric. I've been experimenting with parang 3D fashion design before this, and actually during the pandemic I learned how to sew. And then when I converted my patterns into 3D, my problem is it's really hard to control physics. So with this one is actually the experiment is how to actually make art directing fabric easier. It's just follow whatever idea that I have. Generative art experiment. So parang with me, it's organically lang talaga that I would like actually get into AI because these are things that are actually really interesting to me. I want to understand the mass of like the universe, right? If I can actually like convert whatever is happening in the real world in the digital version and then convert it easily. So with this one, this AI is very parang adjacent to the things that I'm already doing, which is generative design using math. I started doing fashion design with AI. So with this one talaga, when I first posted it on Facebook, I don't even expect it to go viral. I just posted it because I was running out of space in my hard drive and I have a bunch of these photos. So instead of just deleting it, might as well just post it so other people can have use for it, right? But with me kasi like during the pandemic, I started sewing. And then I realized I actually even own an embroidery machine, which I paid a lot of money for that I actually only use for I think 3 times. And then the problem that I realized when using an embroidery machine is that it actually takes professional to encode like the data. And you have to hire like professional to actually, turn your designs into embroidery patterns. And the past experiments that I turned like 3D models into like automated details, I can actually build the system for that, which I started doing. So that really intrigued me. That I realized that I'm not really into like creating embroidery, but I wanna build like complex systems, how to make these designs easier, and that's the thing that I've been doing for the past I think 6 months now, how to build a system that is going to turn these designs automatically into embroidery patterns, and that's also the factor in how I would choose designs for this AI designs. The design should be able to be integrated or turned into real embroidery designs. So I wouldn't even think of something that is like impossible to be interpreted by my system. That's the reason why the designs are like this. So the process of this is I'm with this one I'm the base silhouette I was using stable diffusion. It's an AI system where I can actually teach it how to recognize like keywords like butterfly sleeves. Because if you prompt an AI with butterfly sleeves, it would actually literally give you sleeves like made of like butterfly wings. So I have to teach the system how to like recognize these keywords. And of course, I want to do designs that I also would want to wear. So with this one, right, like when I was working with Marian Rosas, with the fabric patterns, what I realized is they're not gonna let me modernize Filipino patterns. So if they're not gonna let me modernize Filipino patterns, then I should really like create my own patterns, which is still inspired by Filipino fabric. With this one talaga, I think the initial parang reaction was it looks like designs from Black Panther, like Wakanda Forever. But and it's understandable because we have like the same. If you like interpret patterns like tribal patterns and ethnic patterns, it has the same mathematical configurations. That's why it looks similar. And if you like remember the generative art that I was doing, I would only create designs that my system can interpret. So you wouldn't see like floral patterns because it's quite hard to interpret that with computers. I also did a lot of like designs that I would want to see like growing up, and before like you know when I was younger, I watched this movie, The Little Princess, and they have this depiction of uh, this Indian epic. And when I watched it before, I was like, why don't we have this kind of visual that portrays the culture of the Philippines? And until now, we don't have much of it. So I'm thinking, if I'm gonna experiment on this, I wanna create visuals that my younger self would appreciate. With the things that I'm doing with AI, it's usually designs that that a lot of people are not doing yet. Like you wouldn't see games that has this similar designs. With this one, the fun and another thing pala, when I started designing those clothes before, because I was building like a game, a universe for a game. Initially, the experiment was if I'm going to create a modern Filipino diwata, what would a diwata look like? So that's basically the idea of the first experiments. And this is also like the question is if I'm to interpret like a modern Filipino gods and goddesses, what would it look like? I also started doing a lot of experiment with conceptual designs on what would Philippines would look like if we haven't been colonized by these colonizers. Maybe it would look like this. Wait. So I started to like try to create videos for it. And actually, just yesterday, I just finished building the system that actually, creates depth of field. You see the blurry part from the background and the foreground. So I built a system that actually generates that in 3D. So basically, you just feed it with an image, uh, um, machine learning algorithm will figure out the depth of that image, and then my system would create those, parallax effect as if you're looking at an actual 3D scene. But it's mostly computational design. And then it also calculates the depth of field. If it's like too far beyond, it's gonna be blurry, and the blurriness is configurable. So these are the kind of systems that I've been building, how to easily integrate, AI designs into something that can be used in actual productions. Because with this one, right, like I can actually see this being used in films. I would just add like, people walking in the scene, and this can be actually be used in a film. And there are actually algorithms that actually scale up an image into like something that can be seen on movies. So yeah, those are the kind of tools that I'm building. So yeah. Yep, I'm gonna leave the floor later for Q&A.
Yeah. So if you have any pressing questions right now, you can ask it right now,
Yeah.
so that let's have a brief break from presentation. Yes, go.
Have you tried to submit your fashion works to AI Fashion Week? Have you heard about AI Fashion Week New York?
Not really.
Actually, the first AI Fashion Week already exists, and it would be cool if you can submit your works there, because
Yeah.
it's something awesome.
Because I'm also building a system that actually converts AI design quickly into real fashion, because this is the system that I've been building. My plan is not to create clothes or be a fashion designer, but actually build a system. What I can see, because with this AI initiative, is it's not only useful for actually creating clothes, but actually like reducing a lot of waste in fashion design. Like fashion design is an industry, one of the industries that produce a lot of waste, right? So if we integrate AI eventually with fashion design, we can actually create system that can guide us patterns that will not use, patterns that produce excessive waste. Yeah.
That's cool. It's like in this New York Fashion AI Week, the top 10 got a chance to make it real. It's like it was worldwide. First, you can be known like for more amount of people, and then they will sponsor the real presentation of this collection.
Yeah.
That's cool. I highly recommend you to dig deeper into it.
Any other
Yes,
questions?
thank you for that.
What software or AI are you actually using to do design and the videos, especially that one?
This is actually a system that I built with Houdini. Houdini is basically a 3D software where it's mostly a software used by uh, basically coders, like people who mostly create 3D models using codes. So these are systems that I actually built myself.
Oh,
Yes.
so you also a coder?
I'm actually mostly, doing codes. A lot of these things that you see are, the digital ones, except for the paper ones. Those are actually made of codes. Those are not designed by my hand. These are mathematical formula that I actually,
Oh, wow.
that I actually create.
So,
That's the weird thing about my work, because it's so like, super like huge contrast, because I also build like physical work made by hand, right? And then the other part, like my hobby, is to actually create designs that are made by math.
so sir, yung kanina designs mo dun sa mga clothes, is that also a code?
No, those are part AI and part coding.
So yung, sorry,
Because with AI, because like for example, like what I'm talking about earlier, if you prompt an AI with like Filipino fashion design or Filipiniana design, the AI doesn't understand that. Like AI is not built for Filipino culture. So you have to teach it what a Filipiniana design is. Like Filipiniana design, the trademark of a Filipiniana like clothes is actually the butterfly sleeves. And you have to train the AI how to recognize this prompt, like this word. Like you basically feed it with image, you feed it with drawing, and basically teach how you teach a child, right? This is what a butterfly sleeve is. So you have to feed it with data.
So parang tama ba yung pagkakaintindi ko? Kayo yung mismo gumawa ng
There's already a system for that, pero you have to teach it.
Oh, okay. So parang kayo yung binigay
Yes.
ng code. Kasi
But with this one, like the video that you see na parang mukha siyang 3D, that's like a system that I built myself. No one has been doing this, kind of system at that level.